Hey there. Do you ever look at other people and think, wow, they got it right? One marriage, one house, 2.5 kids. That's 2 kids and a pet. And then you look at your life like I do mine and say, divorce, detours, didn't work out the way I planned. But it's important to remember somebody might be looking at you saying, wow, I wonder if I would have had the courage to make that choice or what I would have done in that situation. We tend to get so far down the road and we think, did I make the right decision? Anytime we make a decision in our lives, and there's so many forks in the road, isn't there? And you might pick right, you might pick left, and you look at the people that picked left and you go, oh, that would be nice to be retiring right now. But those people didn't get to do what I got to do. So, I encourage you that during this episode to really consider some of what I'm saying. And I'm not going to solve all your problems, but I tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to make you feel a little less alone and hopefully help you reframe the choices you made and help you take tools that we can use together and say, okay, maybe that wasn't the right choice. Maybe it was. There's no way of knowing. But how do I get better at looking at the end of what I want, really establishing what I want and getting there? Hi, I'm Annie, Trusted Tour Guide Annie, your partner for life's meaningful milestones. I use my project management skills and my tech addiction to help you find your way online and to create, save, and share a life worth living. All right, so let's get into it a little here about something I read recently in a book called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. Highly recommend this book. And really what it was about was means goals as opposed to ends goals. So let me give you a simple example of where our life can go awry. So imagine that you work really hard and what's so important to you and always has been is that you be outside. So you work really hard and you get a job and you do this job and 2 weeks a year you get to go camping and boy, isn't that great? But isn't the job that you worked really hard to get, isn't that keeping you from being outside, which is where you want to be? Do you get what I'm saying? So the means goal that you work so hard on actually is keeping you from the ends goal because you really didn't fully understand or examine what your ends goal was. So what if you would have gone to school to work with the Park Service and be outside every day? Do you see what I'm saying? Let's think of things a little differently and let's really work on what is it that we really want. Let's really understand our ends goals in our relationships, in our work, in our community. What is it that we want to achieve? And let's work towards that. It makes the decisions and those why in the road decisions a little easier. And as long as they're moving you towards your end goal, there is no wrong. And there is no wrong in life. Everything is about setting a goal or setting an ends goal, most importantly, and moving towards that. And there's a great little story that I've heard and it's been told in business settings and all over the world many times. So I'm just going to give you my version, which is there's a fisherman and he's at a beautiful beach in Mexico. And he goes out every day and he catches fish and he comes in one day and there's a businessman on holiday there from New York and he says, well, what are you doing, sir? And he says, well, I'm just out catching fish. Well, it's early. You're done already? And he says, yeah, I'm just going home to have lunch with my wife and my kids and maybe make love to my wife. And then we'll all go to the beach this afternoon and we'll enjoy ourselves. The guy says, yeah, but if you fished longer and you worked harder, maybe you could catch more fish and then you could sell some. And the fisherman says, well, then what am I going to do? And he says, well, then you're going to have maybe 2 boats and then you can make more. And if you work really hard, maybe you can have a whole fishery and then you can live in New York City and you can do all these things. And the fisherman says, Yeah, but then I won't see my wife and kids as much, and I won't be at the beach in the afternoon. He goes, oh, it's okay, but you'll have so much money, and you'll be in New York, and you can do all these wonderful things. And he says, and then what will I do? And he says, well, then, once in a while you can go on vacation, you can go fishing, and you can be on the beach, and you can make love to your wife, and you can be on the beach in the afternoon. But, we probably only get that a couple weeks a year, so, but if you work really hard, you can have all that. And the fisherman's like, no, I'm good. I'll just do it every day. You get my point, folks? So let's really think about our means goals and our ends goals, and let's not become obsessed with why we chose. We did our best. Let's continue to adjust. Let's continue to work towards what our end goals are, what our values are. Don't obsess about the means. And one thing I want to bring up was that at the beginning of the year, I said, don't worry about your New Year's resolutions. And I stand by that. I want you to have a resolution every day that you are working towards those end goals and what you want to achieve. Another quick story. I've often heard Tom Brady say it was never about the money. And you know what? I heard Kobe Bryant say it. I heard Mike Tyson say it. Many great people that have made all kinds of money said it was never about the money. They had a different end goal. They had a goal of being the best, of being the GOAT. And guess what? They did it. And guess what they got with it? Money. So I want you to consider that today. So here's your challenge for this week. Stop yourself from saying, oh, did I do the right thing? Or did I do it right? Or do I have the right job? Really assess and ask yourself, do I know what my end goals are? Have I established them? And do I navigate towards them? Or am I just going with the flow and doing what works for other people? I saw a demonstration one time. So a guy had said, if you're just walking forward, there's no real end goal in mind. And someone puts a chair in front of you. Which way do you go around it? Where do you go? What do you do? Because all you were doing is walking. There was no destination. But if you have a destination and someone sets a chair in front of you and you're walking forward, what are you going to do? Walk around it, knock it down, walk over it, whatever, because you're going to that destination. So that's what I want you to really think about this week, is what is my destination? All right, guys, this is Annie for Wisdom Wednesday, and I'll be here next week, number 39 next week. And in the meantime, whether you're with me or on your own,